Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode. Today, we will be reviewing Moundsville. I think they call it Dungeon of Horror.
Yes.
But it's in Moundsville Penitentiary, which is a giant, scary haunted prison. So, yeah, we've been there before, but it's been a couple years. It's definitely more of a theatrical haunt type of situation. If you watched our review for Wells Township that we did, similar-ish vibes to that one, but just like, in a giant haunted prison. Yeah. And also in this episode, later on, we're going to be talking about this. We're going to have a little snack break, a little treat break. Ooh. This is the trick, this is the treat. And they are Ghost Toast Kit Kat. So we're going to be a little tiny review within the review later on. Yeah. But that being said, we hope you enjoy this episode of Haunt Talk. This giant penitentiary is just kind of in the middle of this residential area.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, it just looks like a giant castle wall, basically, is what this place looks like. It's very long.
Yeah, it takes up, like, quite a few blocks.
It does, yeah.
This residential area.
It's kind of funny, because I was listening to these kids talk, and they're like, imagine, like, living in this house, because literally this house is, like, right across the road from it, and it's like, and they have porches. Imagine just that's your view. You sit on the porch and just look at the creepy haunted penitentiary. Like, yep, that's my view. Just have your morning coffee, just staring up at that. Now, they do ghost tours and stuff as well, and I think they actually do ghost tours while the haunt's going on, because the place is so big, they can do multiple things in there. It must be pretty soundproof as well. I don't know, because you really can't hear too much. No. There's a lot of loud things that happen in there. We're going to get right into the review, which as always means we must refer to the Book of the Dead! Book of the Dead! Book of the Dead! Book of the Dead! Alright, so as always, we're going to start with sets and props.
Yeah. Like we said before, this has a variety of different scenes in it, but it is kind of jail themed.
Yeah, there is an overarching theme to begin with, I would say. Basically, the theme is you're an inmate that's on death row, and you get executed, and then you take a ride into the afterlife, and then you're seeing a bunch of, like, vignettes of, like, things as you're passing. That's, like, the overall story, which I think is a unique story, right? I haven't really seen another place where it's like, all right, you start off alive, we kill you, and now you get to see all of these, like, horrors as you pass through, like, into hell or whatever's really, I think is kind of like the thing. Yeah. So, that being said, it starts off, I will say, really creepy.
Yeah.
You're led like an inmate, and at this part, there's no theming, really, it's just you're in the prison. Mm-hmm. You're taken, and this part could mess people up. I do believe if you tell them, like, they won't make you do this. But they make you line up against a wall, blah, 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 and then they take you to the actual prison cells, and they say, go, and they say, you two get in this cell, you two get in this cell, and then they lock you in there, and then they leave. And you're there for somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes. You're just in the cell in complete darkness, locked away in an actual, haunted prison. That's kind of freaky.
Yeah, it was really freaky. Because, like, at one point, like, we're standing there, and I'm like, did they forget about us? Because you could hear him unlock some other cells, and I thought he had let out a couple people from our group, and then he just left, and I'm like, but there's, like, 6 of us. You only let out 2 people. What's going on? And we're sitting there, and then what we figured out was that that was the previous 6 people.
Yeah.
That were still in cells. Yeah. We didn't know they were there.
They will group you with, like, 6 people. So if you go with just 2, like we did, you will get put with 4 other strangers, because they only send groups of 6. If you go with a group of 8, 2 of them are going to have to go with a different group, though, because they only will send a maximum of 6 people. Then after they finally do unlock you, then you get to, be executed. When we went there before, and again, it's been a couple years since we've been there, it was, you got electrocuted. They didn't actually electrocute you, thankfully, but you sat in electric chairs, and they vibrated and all that. This year, It was a gas chamber. I feel like this could have been done maybe slightly better, but I will say if you're claustrophobic, this is going to be hell for you. They take you and all your 6 other people, and you're in a room that's maybe like this wide, and I would say probably, I don't know, maybe 12 feet long, if that.
Not very big.
And you stand in there, and they shut you in, and it just slowly fogs up because you're getting gassed. I think there might have been like crackers in the ceiling. I just wanted something else to happen just a little bit more, like one final scare, maybe even the floor just vibrating or something like that.
Yeah.
Because you stand in there for probably like 3-ish minutes, it felt like, and it's just like, it just felt maybe a little too long, a little longer than it needed to be. After that, you do get to go to one of the most unique scenes this place has, which is a coffin ride.
Yeah.
And no, I do not mean like one of the buried alive things where you sit in a coffin and it just shakes. Like, no, it's a coffin that's on like a little roller coaster track. They close you in it, and then they push you down the track, and someone's beating on the coffin the whole time, and yeah, you just go on a little literal coffin ride.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's creepy because like my my coffin actually had like a little tiny hole in it, so I could actually see the people.
Oh, did it? See, mine
that were
didn't.
pounding on
mine is
mine.
just pitch black.
And it was just really freaky because I'm just like, oh god, there they are. Like you just occasionally see this hand hitting that hole, and it was really, really freaky. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's definitely the highlight of this place is the weird things that they do that I've never seen anyplace else. There's a couple other things we're going to talk about here in a minute that I really like, but the coffin ride's probably my favorite part. If you go with someone that has not been there before and they do not know it's a part of the show, it's going to really kind of be like, wait, I'm doing what now? You're gonna what?
Excuse me?
And again, there is a bypass, so if you don't want to do it, you don't have to, but if you're bypassing all this stuff, I don't know if it's really worth it, because this is kind of like some of the reason you go to this, is for this weird stuff they do.
Yeah.
Here. I will say something that was really gross after the coffin ride. There wasn't an actor in there. Maybe there normally is. It seemed like they were light on actors this night. We'll talk about that later. But it was like this bug room.
Ugh.
And there was like projections of bugs everywhere. And then they had tons of fake cockroaches all over the floor. Like,
it was gross.
And they were just loose. You're just walking around, you're just kicking all these like fake cockroach bodies. And
yeah, because we weren't really sure what it was, and we're looking down, and we're like, wait. And yeah, his reaction was funny because he's like, wait, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's roaches. Yeah. It was just like,
because at first I thought they were projection, but then like, no, they moved with my feet, and I realized, oh no, it's just a ton of fake roaches all over the floor. So that was kind of gross. Yeah. After that, there was
not
like
nice like mine.
Ew. After that, there was like I think it was like a cemetery scene. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was really neat.
Yeah, it was really pretty. They had a mirror maze this year. Mm-hmm. They had a crematory, which had a fun scare that like shot you with like, I don't know if it was just fog or if it was that like nitrous stuff, but
oh yeah,
something.
That was really cool. Yeah,
that was a nice like little startle scare. They have a whole cave you walk through, and then another one that's a really like fun, weird scene that I haven't seen someplace else is they have a boat ride you take. Like, you get an actual boat, so it's a laser swamp, but instead of walking through the laser swamp, you get on a big old boat, and you're crossing the river Styx.
Yep.
Because, again, with that theme of dying and passing to the afterlife. Mm-hmm. Let's see, what else did we have? Oh, yeah, I didn't really understand this scene too much. Oh, well, that comes after. I'll talk about this now, though. It's like a garage, and like the car batteries like hooked up to electric chairs, and I think I don't really know what was happening.
I think he was making something for the warden or the superintendent or whatever.
Yeah, they kept talking about the warden or whatever.
Whoever's in charge of the prison, he was making something for him, and that's what that was he was making all these electric chairs, and he hooked it up to this car, and yeah.
And they just vibrate, thankfully, because again, I hate getting shocked. They just vibrated. I think it was probably the same electric chairs I used to use for the original execution scene.
Probably, yeah.
That they used to do. There was another pretty cool scare where an actor got electrocuted, and at the end, there's like a fence that falls at you. That actually got me pretty good. There was a cool scene where it's you're like walking behind like a little waterfall, and it's like all neon water, and there's like a piranha plant. It
was a little delayed. I don't think you guys got to see it, but the plant actually did move.
I saw at the very end of it moving.
Yeah, because I got to see it, like, all of a sudden it just started, coming out, and it was, like, moving its mouth and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, I don't think they got to see it.
Yeah. There was a few puppets and stuff like that, too. there's quite a few sets and props in this place. They also had quite a few different mazes this year.
Yeah.
Some were actual mazes, some were more of just like back and forth walking paths, but two of the mazes that we went through I know did kind of confuse us a little bit, or at least the group in front of us. We typically weren't leading in the mazes. The other group led through most of the haunt. But yeah, overall, pretty fun, honestly, as far as like sets and props and that go. And I just love all the unique things that they have.
Yeah.
So we gave sets and props an 8. The only reason it's not a little bit higher is, while we liked a lot of the sets and props, some of the rooms kind of felt empty. And part of that was like the actors, like the boat ride, while it's cool, it took a long time, and there were no scares. There were no actors or anything that popped out of the water. You just sit there slowly. There wasn't any music in this room either. She just kind of heard the mechanism that pulls the boat, just kind of... It was kind of just like little things like that, where it's like, this idea is really cool, but there's just a little bit of jank there that could have been ironed out. But again, overall, I love the inventiveness of the sets and the props that they have. So yeah, next brings us to actors.
Like we said before, it is a very story-driven, like each room kind of has like a little story that they're trying to convey. So you have an actor that, like, you know, kind of tries to tell you something or get you into the scene and stuff like that. Some standout people were like the prison guard at the beginning that put you in the cell. He was aggressive.
Yeah, he acted like a prison guard. Like,
yeah,
and he had like this pipe that you could tell he's hit things with a lot. And it was, he was pretty scary.
Yeah. There was 2 girls over at the coffin ride, and they were great. They interacted really well with each other. Like, the one girl kind of told us, like, the whole, like, you know, the rules and everything about how to get in the coffin, blah, 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 blah. And then the other girl was just kind of like being like, kind of like comic relief in the background. And they worked really well together. It was really funny.
Yeah. They did need quite a few more. I will say there weren't really any, I shouldn't say any, there were very, very little actual jump scares. Most of the actors were just there to kind of tell you a story. Some delivered it really well. Others definitely felt like they were just like reading something.
Yeah.
Just kind of there going through the motions. I would say most of them did pretty well at saying their lines and stuff like that. There was like a cool scene, and this kind of coincides with sets and props, but we kind of left it to talk about in actors just because the actors are the ones that initiated scare, although it kind of got ruined for us. It's like this big circular room, and they have you sit in this chair, and they spin a person around, and they make them face this, like, I think it was like, I don't remember if it was a clown or it was like some kind of thing that was on the wall, like a monster, and then it came flying at you with the springs. Unfortunately, as we walked into the room, it got triggered, so we saw the scare. But they still like made him do it. But they were pretty cool. I don't know. They were like saying some kind of spell chant and stuff like that. Yeah. That was neat. There was like a clown / jester. I think she specifically told us, I'm not a clown, I'm a jester. She was kind of like mean to us in a fun way. This was like towards the end. I liked her. I didn't get to hear a lot of what she was saying, but there was like this, I don't know if she was like a cannibal or what was going on. I don't know. I know she was like, she kept like putting a bone or something in her mouth. And it was like that room that had like the dolls and stuff like in it.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what she said either. There was another girl that was in the group that we were paired with, and she was basically picking on her, and she was saying a bunch of stuff to her. But yeah, I don't really know what she was really talking about. I think she wanted to make us into dolls or something like that. I'm not really sure.
I'm not really sure either. And again, the timing for some of this stuff was kind of weird too. Like the scene would like start not just with actors, but like some of like the puppets, or not even the puppets, like the animatronics that they have, like they fire as soon as the first person go in. So if you're in the back, which we pretty much always were, there's a lot of stuff I didn't get to see. I could hear it happening, but by the time I got there, it was done.
Yeah.
Same with some of the actors. They'd kind of say part of their spiel. By the time we got there, it was kind of like, I missed the first part, like what's even going on? And they definitely interacted with the younger kids way more than us. I feel like me and you got very, very little interaction. They focused on the other group almost entirely. It happens. And then there's like one other one that like had this whole like meat grinder thing, and I think the girl got sprayed.
Yeah.
But like I said, overall, I just really wish there was more actors. And again, I think it was like Homecoming or something. But still, charging full price. This is the show we got. This is what we're reviewing on. yeah, so we gave actors a 7. Like I said, some of them are really good. Some of them probably a little more practice on like the lines and stuff if we're going with its theatrical story-driven experience.
Yeah.
But overall, still pretty good. We think that, the majority of them did very well. Scare factor. You know what? Before we do scare factor, we're going to do our little snack break review, which is, so I don't know if they're like French toast Kit Kats or what.
It says crisp wafers in cinnamon toast flavored cream.
Yeah. And again, let us know if you like our little reviews with interviews when we review weird little Halloween treats. Last time, it wasn't a Halloween treat, but we did the Coca-Cola Oreos. Did not like those, like Oreos with like Pop Rocks in it. If you're curious to know what we thought about that, it's part of which review did we include that in?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, no, go back and find it.
It's one of the first
One
ones.
of the first 3.
It might be Nightmare.
Yeah, it's one of the first 3.
So
These ones kind of sound good, though. So, we'll just...
a stick.
What, do you want to share one? Or?
Oh, we could share one.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay.
The only thing is I don't really like white chocolate very much, but it smells like cinnamon. I feel like I think they have done this before, but just not Halloween themed. Like, not orange.
I like it.
Yeah, that's good. I think I still prefer like a normal Kit Kat.
Tastes like cinnamon toast crunch or something. Like.
Yeah. Specifically, Cinnamon Toast Crunch I think has a it's like a granola bar. Kind of reminds me of that a bit. But yeah, that white chocolate definitely gives it a bit of like milky taste. Much
or
better than the
brown
Cocoa
sugar
Oreos.
cinnamon Pop Tart. Tastes like that a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, for sure tastes a bit like
Yeah.
that. But yeah,
What's
if
your
you're into cinnamon stuff, this might be a fun like little limited time Halloween treat for you. If you want to see really something kind of funny, if you want to see me react horribly to something, you'd have to dig around our channel a little bit, to be honest with you. But we had done a whole video tasting like snacks, and they did these Skittles years ago. Now they just do ones that are like some are super sour, but it was called like zombie Skittles, and randomly in your pack of Skittles, a normal looking Skittle would taste like rotting flesh. I don't know what rotting flesh tastes like, but it tasted like cheesy onions, and I almost puked on camera. So if you want to see me literally lose my mind, it's like from 4 or 5 years, like from 5 years ago, because it's for 2020. Yeah, you can go find that video. But anyways, back to the review of Dungeons of Horror. Scare factor. Definitely more fun than scary. Again, it's more theatrical. It's focused more on that. Feels like they're focusing on being a little bit more family friendly. I don't know if that's the intent, but it felt that way. And again, that's fine. Not every haunt has to be this terrifying nightmare land. Some haunts can be more fun and more spooky, than like absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did the scare factor a little bit lower, and again, scare factor is the one that doesn't really affect the overall score because you can have a low scare factor and still be a great haunt. But scare factor we gave a 6. Again, there's still some freaky things.
Yeah.
I would say it's not traditionally scary in the way that like no one's grabbing you, touching you, very little jump scares. But if you're claustrophobic, and again, you can bypass that stuff, but like then you're just bypassing most of the experience. But yeah, getting locked in the cell, pretty much all the scariest stuff happens right up front. You're locked in the cell, gas chamber, riding in a coffin with the lid shut.
Yeah.
And those are all within the first like 15 minutes of the haunt.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, I feel like, becomes way more theatrical and less like weird claustrophobic style things that they do to you. But pretty freaky beginning though, honestly. That's the scariest part for sure of the haunt, of those 3 things. Now value. It's $25 per person, and this thing's 45 minutes, which is nice. Most haunts will say, like, this is how many minutes it takes, like, on their website, and it's usually off by a decent amount. It says 45 minutes, and it was almost exactly 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was weird. It was like, what was it? Your thing said 45, 46 or something like that. 45 minutes and 46 seconds or something weird like that.
So they were kind of right on the money there.
Yeah.
So yeah, value we think is really good. 25 is pretty low for a haunt that's this length. So yeah, value we gave an 8 to. So that brings us to our overall score, which we are giving it a 7.75. Now, one thing I will say, I would like it, and again, this is obviously our review, our personal opinions. I think this place has potential to be super scary.
Yeah.
I kind of hope maybe eventually they go that route. They go more of like the Moundsville Blood Prison or like the Eastern State Penitentiary route, and just really kind of go whole hog and make it just scary.
Yeah.
And again, I understand if that's not what they're going for, but that's what I would like, because like I can see the potential there. There's really good ideas there. I just wish that the execution was a bit different.
Yeah.
And I just kind of wish they went all in with it a little bit more. But again, obviously just our opinions. I think if you're in the area, especially if you haven't done it before, it's definitely worth checking out. Because again, there's things there like the coffin ride. I mean, that alone, that and the boat ride and all these weird things, again, that's, in my opinion, is worth the price of admission.
Oh, yeah.
Just to get to experience that, because
Yeah.
it's very unique. There's also lots of haunts that are within like a half hour. There's, of course, Wells Township Haunted House. There's Infernamentara, which we really like. Darkview is open this year. That should be pretty close. I don't know exactly where it is. Fear Field isn't that far. So
yeah.
there's a lot of haunted houses around this area that you could go to. So if you want to make a night of just hitting them all up. And all of them in this area, pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Like, cheaper than, like, a lot of, like, the Pittsburgh, or God forbid, when you get to Philadelphia and everything's, like, $40 to $60 for general admission. Most of these in this area are, like, Wells Township's, like, the bottom at 18, and they usually get to about 30, I think, is maximum for this area.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that makes it nice if you want to do multiples. You're not spending, like, $100. But yeah, have you been there? What did you think of it? Let us know. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. And also make sure you're ringing that notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos. And we have lots of like giveaways going on too. So if you're watching this when it actually comes out, make sure you go and look at the other reviews of things like Wells Township, Blue Brothers, Chippewa Lake, Fright Farm, because we have giveaways going on. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.